Welcome to the Paid2Save Network Nonprofit Organization Training Course. I'm really excited to be able to share this information with you. Our goal with this training course is to help you become better educated, organized, and prepared to serve nonprofit organizations, to get a better understanding of some of the commonly used terms that you'll hear when serving in this market space, in addition to understanding the competition as well as the selling cycle timeline and enrolling process. Okay, ready to get started? The opportunity to serve this marketplace is unique because there is an unlimited demand. What I mean by that this demand is driven by the need to represent special interests or provide social services that cannot be met by the market or government. And nonprofit organizations have been specifically created to serve the public good rather than serving a private interest. And organizations receive their nonprofit status, again, because their primary purpose is either religious, charitable, scientific, literary, or educational in nature. So let's begin with the basics by asking ourselves, what is a tax-exempt organization? A tax-exempt organization is a trust, an association, or nonprofit corporation described in the Internal Revenue Code that's exempt from federal income tax. For example, one of the most commonly known is a 501c3 organization. It's important to know as you go out and serve within this marketplace the differences between some of the most commonly used terms. I'll begin by asking you this question. Does a nonprofit, a 501c3, and tax-exempt all mean the same thing? The answer is no. These terms are often used interchangeably, but they all mean different things. So it's important that you understand these differences, and let's take a moment and go through each one of them. A nonprofit means the entity, usually a corporation that's organized for a nonprofit purpose. A 501c3 means a nonprofit organization that has been recognized by the IRS as being tax exempt by virtue of its charitable programs. And tax exemption is just the result of a nonprofit organization being recognized by the IRS as being organized for any purpose allowable under 501c3 through 501c27. After the nonprofit organizations have completed the application process, they'll receive a determination letter, which is an official legal document the IRS issues to a 501c3 to verify and prove that the organization is not subject to pay federal taxes. Currently, there are over 1.5 million active nonprofit organizations in the U.S., with over 800,000 that have annual revenues of $100,000 or less. So you can see there is a huge opportunity to serve nonprofit organizations all throughout the country. Furthermore, of those 1.5 million nonprofit organizations, more than a third currently send emails with multiple conflicting calls to action to their volunteers and supporters. This, combined with the fact that nearly 2/3 of all nonprofit organizations make their donors click 3 or more times just to give a donation, which obviously adds to donor frustration and confusion. This is where we have a unique opportunity to serve the organizations that serve our communities. Now, let's take a look at who is currently serving within this marketplace. There are over 1,000 fundraising companies operating right now in the U.S. and Canada. And most of these are small to mid-sized companies with small sales forces. And then there are also some larger regional and national companies that have a local sales force that are assigned specific territories in which they solicit various nonprofit organizations. Often, these distributors develop relationships with board members, and they continue working with the nonprofit organization until the fundraising participants begin asking for new items to sell. So what's important for you to take away from this is that this industry is uniquely both transactional and relational. It is here where we have a unique competitive advantage because of how we're able to serve these organizations. Typically, someone would have to get fired in order for us to get hired. But with our unique mobile app program, we can be a complement to what these organizations are already doing. Or if they're ready for a change or they don't currently have a fundraising program, this could be a tremendous standalone fundraising program that allows them to grow month after month, year after year. And some of the established fundraising companies that you'll see currently working in the not-for-profit space are Hershey's, Domino's Pizza, World's Finest Chocolate, Market Day, Entertainment Book. You'll also see cookie dough, scratch cards, gift wrap, and popcorn. So again, you can serve as a complement or a tremendous standalone. Okay, now we've taken a look at the overall industry and you have a better understanding of a number of the key terms and competitors. So now, let's first take a look at serving the board members of the organizations and the steps to take to help them get started. We're going to use some generalities, assumptions if you will, that are intended to help you prepare effectively before meeting with board members of the nonprofit organizations. Typically, you'll find board members to be educated, self-assured, and very successful in their respective fields. And most will have a strong network and have served or currently serving on several boards. Remember, many boards tend to be conservative in their forecasting and their decision-making process. And lastly, you'll typically find the board to be comprised of many servant leaders or individuals that have servant hearts. You're going to find some amazing people. Remember to be authentic and develop relationships. And if you go in trying to sell them anything, these board members will sniff it out a mile away. I cannot stress enough, go in and serve the organization with their best interest in mind, not yours. With that being said, as you prepare to meet with these organizations, here are a couple of best practices that will serve you well. Research the organization, their cause, and if possible, the leadership team in advance of meeting with them. I know I keep stressing this, but it's that important. Serve the board, serve the organization. Do not sell them ever. Nothing will turn a board off faster than someone coming in to sell them on something. It's important to understand and respect the organization, and board members have a lot at stake. They are the stewards of the organization, and each of their decisions have to be mindful that they're accomplishing their mission or their cause. Another thing to keep in mind when talking with nonprofit organizations, when referring to a 501c3 organization, especially with board members, please correctly refer to it as exactly that. It's so important. And in your meetings with the board members, you may be asked different questions about taxes. It's critical that you politely defer all taxation questions to their accountant or tax attorney so not to answer their questions incorrectly. The last thing in the world you would ever want to do is possibly jeopardize an organization's tax-exempt status by unintentionally answering taxation questions incorrectly. And as you're working with nonprofit organizations, it's important to note that the typical sales cycle and decision-making process is usually longer for nonprofit organizations because of the need to go through a vote and how often a board might meet. For example, you could meet with a PTO or a PTA board in April, but they may have to wait to vote on their new fundraisers until later that summer or in the beginning of the next school term. So it's critical to remain patient and flexible. Continue to fill your pipeline of nonprofit organizations. Continue to build your team and expand your business. This will allow you to not put unnecessary pressure on the nonprofit organization or yourself. Lastly, before each meeting and/or conversation ends with board members, always determine what the next steps in the process are. There are so many moving parts with the nonprofit organizations, it's important to stay on their calendar. Remember, what gets scheduled gets done. Okay, now the really fun part begins, getting started. When the organization's ready to go, take them to your brand partner website and click on the nonprofit organization link. Here, the organization will submit the application, their logo, and verify their nonprofit status. Upon approval, organizations will receive a welcome email along with their replicated website, as well as their unique app code, and then they're ready to get started sharing the app. So you can see this is a very simple process. You just have to be systematic in your approach. Fortunately, the Paid2Save network has made this completely turnkey for you from start to finish. For example, you'll see here the marketing materials that have been created for you to be able to share with prospective nonprofit organizations. It's important that you remember to only use Paid2Save approved materials. If you have ideas for marketing materials or questions that come up, please contact the Paid2Save Network corporate office at 866-899-2261 or send an email to info@paid2savenetwork.com. Okay, congratulations, you made it. This will conclude the initial training process. Now go out there and find the organizations that are philosophically in alignment with you and serve them passionately. Share this with your friends and your family. Attract other servant warriors to join you on your team. Now's your chance. Go out there and change the world. Godspeed.